I'm out in the Woodland today and I've only got one lens with me. That is the Canon Nifty 50, the Canon EF 50mm 1.8 STM lens. Now I think this is a fantastic lens in general, but I think it's really good for woodland photography. I've used it a number of times and always had really good results, and I'll talk about why I think it's so good as the video goes on. But to be clear, I'm using a full frame camera, so if you're using it on a crop sensor camera, you get a slightly different field of view, something like me using roughly an 80mm lens on my full frame camera. But I'm walking past some trees which are catching my eye, lots of trees, and I'm going to try and find something in them to make a composition out of. Then I'll talk a bit more about this lens, why I think it's so good for woodland photography. So I've been exploring the trees in the distance behind me, and although the sun is out at the moment, when I went in there it got extremely dull. There was no interesting light at all to make a good composition. So as I was exploring, I spotted this fascinating tree here behind me. I saw it in the distance and I've come up. And I spent some time getting the composition that I wanted, and that's one of the reasons I like the Nifty 50 lens. It really makes you work at your composition. And it's really good in woodland because a wide angle lens, say a 20mm, takes in so much in terms of your field of view, and you can take in a lot of distracting elements. As you move around with the 50mm lens, you really focus on your composition and try to eliminate distractions. So that's one reason I really like it. What I like about this tree is the texture in the bark. I really like the moss on it. And off in the distance under this branch, it almost seems like the exit, the way out of the forest. And I've composed my image in a way that I just captured some of the blue sky above there, so it really almost makes it look like that's the way out. There's also a subtle curve in the branch which I just put above the exit. So the 50mm lens from Canon that I'm talking about today and I've got with me really has got quite a lot of good things going for it. If you're new to photography and wondering what lens to buy and you find them very expensive, then this lens is very good value for money. As long as you're using it on a full frame camera, you've got similar perspective to your own eyes, and you can pick up this lens for maybe just over £100 in the UK at the moment. And that is very good value for money. It's a prime lens, so the images you get are very sharp. Also, if you do a lot of walking like me and you like woodland photography, or indeed any type of landscape photography, it's nice to be able to head out with just your camera and that one lens, which is quite lightweight, and leave all your other heavy lenses behind. I've got my tripod with me today. Probably don't even need that, but I've took it with me just in case there is a situation where I do need it. But it's nice to have a lightweight backpack, leave all the heavy lenses at home and just focus on your photography. And that's another thing the 50mm lens does as well. There is no zoom on it, so you really have to move yourself and the camera around to try and get the best compositions. So yeah, it's got a lot going for it, this lens. So as I was exploring the woodland, I found this fantastic scene just to my left that's just changed because of the sun moving, and it's now not getting as much light as it was when I took the image, but some slowly coming back, it appears. but there was almost like a path between these trees. It isn't, but due to the alignment and the way the sun was lighting this area of ground, it looked like a path. And then off in the distance, the sunlight, you can still see it. The trees and ground gets higher, and there's some wonderful bushes, probably moss, grass, etc. And it's got this wonderful dreamy like glow due to the sunlight. So I really like this shot. Also in my foreground, this branch here is sort of pointing up the way of the path. So a really nice woodland shot, I think, and one which the 50mm lens, the Nifty 50, will capture perfectly. So I'm glad I brought my tripod actually for two reasons. One, it lets me slow down the shutter speed so I don't have to raise my ISO so much. And the other reason is it lets me bracket my exposures, because there's quite a lot of dark area in this particular scene. But I really like the look of this image. I think I'll be very pleased with this one once I get it edited. So I've just been taking some images which I'll show at the end of the video. They're not serious images as such, they're just images I saw on the way back which are telltale signs of the time of year it is. And I thought they would demonstrate quite a useful feature, if you want to call it that, of the Nifty 50 lens. And that is that wide open the aperture can go down as far as f1.8. That results in an extremely shallow depth of field. Now this isn't something you're going to use a lot. You're not going to use it a lot in landscape or woodland photography, but there are times it's very useful. It can be very useful in extremely low light, and it can be helpful at times to try and create some arty looking shots. So I'll put those up at the end of the video. But I've enjoyed being out today with just my camera and the one lens and my tripod, which came in useful of course. But I'm not saying this lens is the only lens you'll ever need, far from it, but it is quite refreshing at times just to come out with a camera and the single lens, and I think it's very good for woodland photography. The focal length seems to work very well, it's lightweight as well, and it results in very sharp images, so it's a nice lens. Let me know in the comments section if you've got one, what you use it for and what you think of it. But for now I'll say goodbye. Hopefully I'll see you in my next vlog. And if you've enjoyed this one, please leave a like. And if you haven't yet subscribed but like my content, then please do so. But that's it, and I will see you again hopefully soon.